Entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. Today we're going to embark on a journey together to explore the concept of revenue milestones and draw parallels to climbing three iconic mountains: Mount Timpanogos, Mount Rainier, and the mighty Mount Everest. Just like scaling these peaks requires proper equipment, preparation, and perseverance, achieving revenue milestones of $100,000, $500,000, and $1 million as an entrepreneur demands strategic planning, the right sales equipment, and dedication. And the first revenue milestone that we're going to be scaling today is Mount Timpanogos, and this represents our $100,000 revenue milestone. A little bit about Mount Timpanogos. It's located in Utah, and the elevation is 11,752 feet. And it typically takes the average hiker about 4.5 hours to summit. And so when asking yourself, what equipment do you need to scale Mount Timpanogos? Well, you need hiking boots, appropriate clothing. If it's the summer, make sure you wear shorts or a comfortable shirt, backpack, water, food, phone, sunscreen, sunglasses, and the list goes on and on. But these tools will give you the best chance of summiting Mount Timpanogos. But the next question we have to ask ourselves is, what sales equipment do we need to summit Mount Timpanogos or to reach our $100,000 milestone? And that is, you need a minimum viable product or an MVP. You need an understanding of your ideal customer profile. What are your value propositions? What pain are you solving? A go-to-market strategy, sales messaging, sales presentation, pricing proposal. And these are just a few of the things that are going to give you the best chances of summiting or reaching the first $100,000. And it's important to understand, even though you have all of the sales equipment I just listed, this doesn't guarantee that you're going to summit or reach $100,000. This just gives you the best chance to reach that. And it is crucial to stay lean in everything that you do. It is also really important to understand that you are the dedicated sales representative. Whether you're a technical founder or an economic founder, it is crucial that you are the person that is selling your product. Because unfortunately, your product will not sell itself. The next revenue milestone is $500,000. And we're going to use the metaphor of climbing Mount Rainier, which is located in Washington. A little bit about Mount Rainier is that it's 14,411 feet in elevation. And this is just a little bit different than Mount Timpanogos at 11,000. And the average hiker usually takes them about 2 days to complete this hike, to summit Mount Rainier. So obviously the equipment you use to hike Mount Rainier is going to be a little bit different than the equipment you use to hike Mount Timpanogos. So what you'll need is everything that we use to climb Mount Timpanogos, but you'll have to make sure you adjust and adapt your equipment for the 2-day hike. You'll need a larger hiking pack, a tent, sleeping bags, headlamp, hiking poles, maybe a map and GPS. You'll need more food, you'll need more water, and these will give you the best chances of summiting Mount Rainier. Furthermore, when it comes to sales, when it comes to revenue, reaching $500,000 takes a little bit more sales equipment. And this is where you can hire a dedicated sales representative. You can get a little bit of help. This is where you can build out a CRM. And it's important to understand that there are many CRMs out there of all prices. You can get a CRM for just a couple bucks a month, or you can even pay for a CRM that costs hundreds of dollars a month. What you need to understand is the importance of staying lean in all that you do. Even if you get a little bit of money in the bank, like we did when we summited 100,000, it's important to stay as lean as possible with that money. And once you have your CRM picked out, this is where you build out a pipeline. How are you feeding the top of the funnel? And then this is where you can start to expand to multiple sales and marketing channels. Start testing out trade shows. Test out SEO, social media, cold calling, SMS messaging. Honestly, the list goes on and on, but you need to start testing at this phase. And it is most important that you are where your ideal customer is. Wherever that may be where they're at. The last revenue milestone I want to talk about today is $1 million. And we're going to relate this to climbing the mighty Mount Everest. Mount Everest is tremendously different than Mount Timpanogos and Mount Rainier, with the elevation at 29,000 feet, and the length that it takes an average climber is about 6 to 10 weeks. And so what equipment is needed to summit Mount Everest? Obviously, you're still going to need your sleeping bag, you're still going to need your food and water, but this is where you're going to start to need a lot more help. This is where you're going to need a guide. You're going to need climbing ropes, carabiners, satellite phone, winter clothing, an ice pick, an oxygen tank, and the list goes on and on. But these tools will help you have the best chance to summit Mount Everest. And so what sales equipment is needed to reach $1 million or to summit Mount Everest? This is where you start to build out a sales organization. You need a scalable, repeatable process. Build out your company culture. Define your key performance indicators and train a sales team. You can also start working on compensation structures. Start working on hiring out a bigger team, whether it's in sales, marketing, dev, or anything else. But it's important to understand that reaching the Mount Everest of revenue milestones requires determination, strategic thinking, and a well-coordinated effort from the entire organization. And so what are some examples of scaling prematurely? And again, I've kind of hit this a few times already, but it is so important that we stay lean in all that we do. You know, when you're climbing Mount Timpanogos, you don't want to have a huge pack that you would take for Mount Everest. You're not going to make it. And same with Mount Rainier. If you're not taking the right equipment and you're weighing yourself down, your chances of summiting go way down. And this is why it's so important to stay lean. And it's taught multiple times in the Nail It and Scale It book. A quote that I love from Nail It and Scale It is, having too much money early on leads to the temptation of prematurely scaling, which is the #1 cause of startup death. Often when entrepreneurs get more money, they expand the team, hiring more engineers, VPs of sales, and other team members. The big team not only increases the burn rate, but also increases the problems for early stage companies. An example of a company that did not stay lean and did not follow the Nail It and Scale It process was a company called Webvan. And this was during the dot-com bubble. And Webvan was only alive for about from 1996 to 2001. And it was an online grocery delivery company that aimed to revolutionize the grocery shopping experience. So essentially what would happen is you could jump on webvan.com, order your groceries, and expect the delivery via a Webvan van at your door the next day. The only problem was they did not test and validate their product. They did not stay lean. They heavily invested in warehouses, equipment, and a huge team. In fact, they spent over $1.2 billion in just 5 years on this product. And by 2001, they were totally bankrupt. The next company I want to highlight is Pets.com. Again, this is during the dot-com bubble. And they were very similar to Webvan in that they were an online retailer for pet supplies. So picture this. You have a dog, you need dog food, you need a kennel, you need toys. So what they thought would be helpful is if they had a website where you could jump on, order the products, and again, it would be delivered right to your doorstep. The problem with them is they spent so much money on advertising, and they did not stay lean and they did not test their product. In fact, their very first ever TV advertisement was on the Super Bowl. And if anybody knows anything about the Super Bowl, not only is it a great football game, but it is also a great platform for companies to market their products. And that comes with a price. Pets.com spent $1.2 million on a 30-second ad as their first ever advertisement. The problem with Pets.com is there were low profit margins and high shipping costs, and they were not solving a significant customer pain. They put way too much in their hiking bag, and they were not able to summit any of their revenue milestones. The problem was most people would much rather go to a grocery store or the local pet store to purchase their pet supplies instead of waiting a couple of days to receive them through the mail. A good example of a company that followed the Nail It and Scale It process and stayed lean was a company called Amazon.com. And Jeff Bezos actually ran Amazon.com out of his garage for the first few years. And it was just him, his wife, and another team member. And it was actually originally an online bookstore. So what they would do is they would check the orders in the morning, buy the books in the afternoon, and by the evening they would pack and ship the books themselves. And Jeff Bezos and his team did this for many years. In fact, they didn't even add a single product other than a book to their website for 3 years. They grew slowly, focusing on dominating one market, and they were always careful not to scale too quickly. And unlike Webvan and unlike Pets.com, Amazon.com is still booming today. Achieving revenue milestones can be very difficult for startups, but sustainable growth is crucial for any business. A growing company is met with increasing complexity, and that brings the increasing risk for disaster. You can maintain a healthy pace by focusing on nailing the customer pain, nailing the solution, nailing the go-to-market strategy, and nailing the business model. And all of this is found in the Nail It and Scale It book. And entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, rinse, repeat, and summit your revenue milestones. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below on what obstacles are currently standing in your way on reaching your current revenue milestone. Subscribe below for more videos. Thanks.